Hey, Gabriella, you need to unmute yourself. I accidentally muted you right as you unmuted yourself.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
There we go. Now I gotcha.
So how does this work?
I will introduce you, but we'll just start off. I'll introduce you. This is Gabriella. Do you want to go by Gonsalves or just Gabriella? How do you want me to?
Just Gabriella's good.
Gabriella's good. Okay, got it. And I need to pull up the title of your class here so I can remember it.
So when do I stop? I saw that it says half an hour or something, or I wasn't sure.
If what?
I saw that your thing said that it has to stop after half an hour, so I wasn't sure. Do I stop after half an hour?
I don't know why it says that. Where did you see that?
On your thing, it said...
Going into the meeting itself?
No. Well, I'll just teach for half an hour, for 40 minutes, and then you wanted me to leave 15 or 20 minutes for questions.
You can do it however long it takes you, and then you can have, leave the floor open to questions and answers or comments and stuff at the end.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a specific time. You can take your time. Sometimes in the middle of it, somebody might put a question in the chat.
Okay.
And if people ask questions, I can monitor the chat and then audio, ask you the question. So occasionally, like if you're between thoughts or you want to pause for a second, just say,
yeah.
Hey, do we have any questions in the chat right now before I move on? And right. I will, read over the questions to you.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. And I have a very simple message, and so I hope it works. It's just kind of a simple message. So
you know what, honey? It's tell your story and the message. The story is beautiful. You look amazing. Your radiant beam of health, look at what you've done, by learning it, and be really honest. We have a lot of people in the group that this is intimidating and overwhelming going into it. They don't cook. They're coming into it because either they're sick or they're looking for direction. We have, out of 120 people who are participating in the event, most classes have between 20 and 30 people in them.
Okay, cool.
And a lot of people are watching the video afterwards when it goes on to YouTube. So
gotcha.
The classroom.
On YouTube?
Yep, you're going to be on YouTube too, absolutely. So the first few months that it's on YouTube, it's still private link for the people who are part of the conference. But then at the holidays, I was going to talk to the board of directors about this. I thought it would be a really cool gift to everybody to just release everything public.
Oh my, okay. We'll talk about that one later.
Hey, if you don't want your class included, we can keep it private. But hey, I have a sneaking suspicion that your class is going to, Mariana taught for the first time the other day. Before we got started, Mariana's not an actress. She was scared shitless, literally scared shitless. And she stood there looking like a deer caught in the headlights. Patrick kept saying to her, oh, it's easy. Don't worry about it. Just do this and do that. And I just watched her like freeze. And then her legs started shaking like out of control. And I said, listen, I'll keep the conversation going with you. Just think of it as like I'm on the other end of it. And if there's any pause or anything, I might even come up with questions of my own to help, direct it. But we're just mainly having fun, sharing the information that we have from practical experience. Because so many people who teach don't do what they're actually teaching.
Right.
And you are like this. You live it, you teach it, you live it, you breathe it, you've been doing it, you've inspired many other people to go down this path. So, your story and what you're doing and just who you are, like, says it all. It doesn't have to go the whole hour. If you finish a little bit early, that's fine. Plenty of teachers have finished early. Nobody minds at all. We have other teachers who've gone grossly over, like the one right before you. So nobody had a between the last class and this class. There's only been like 10 minutes to run to the bathroom for people.
Yeah.
So, however it goes, it's all good. And, for all Gabriella, this could be like, a gateway into someone seeing you do this, who then wants you like to be the hostess on their health show.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, we never know what's going to come from this. Plus, A lot of the people who are in the session, just so you know, we're pretty much the 30 people who are rotating coming into the different sessions are all over the world. We got a guy in there from Australia, people from the UK, Israel, Dubai, all over the United States, Alaska, Hawaii. So we got people just like all over, and it's a really good group of students too, diversity-wise.
Nice.
So you never know, girl. This could be part of a new calling for you that you didn't even like. You know, like, what do you mean I'm going to be teaching this stuff, Jeannie?
I wonder, is this too dark?
No, your lighting looks good. You have a beautiful one.
Is this too dark? Yes, it's too
dark. I like you better with the light on.
Yeah. It's in my face, but I'll deal with it.
Oh, you should see me with the cooking classes. I had the white lights in front of me and making it 20 degrees hotter. It's great. So we'll give it a couple more meetings. We got people coming into the waiting room. After I open the waiting room up at the beginning of the class, I take the waiting room off. The people tend to trickle in a lot after, in the first 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
So, I will give you a brief introduction, and I'm going to tell a little bit of my story at the beginning of yours because I think it's really funny that you were my only first student. So, what?
Yeah, I was like, I was your only student. You're right. Yes, I was going to tell that story too, but you tell it. You tell it.
You can tell it. You can tell it.
No, I want you to tell it, and then that's good. No, please.
Yeah, I'm sure you have plenty of other stories about me teaching that you could throw in there too. Please, go ahead.
What'd you say?
I said you probably have plenty of stories from my classes too.
Oh, maybe about my dumb questions.
No, you always have good questions. You haven't yet asked me how to wash salt, so it's all good.
Oh.
I actually had it come up, so, that's all I can say right there. How do you wash salt?
Oh, my God.
The woman actually said, I rinse salt and I lose so much of it when I rinse it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm going to close this door.
Yep.
I'm here. Let me know when you need me.
Okay.
How's it going so far?
Good. We're at 2:30, so once you get situated, I will bring you in and introduce you and let the people out of the waiting room.
Okay.
You ready to get going?
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to tell my story.
That's right. You go, girl.
Hopefully there's some tips,
Awesome. And there's probably going to be lots of questions and stuff too, so. Here we go. I'm going to open up the waiting room. Okay. I said they'll probably have questions. They always do.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Welcome everyone into our class today with Gabriella. She comes to us live from Los Angeles, California. And today's class with Gabriella is called If You Fail to Plan, You Plan to Fail. I got to tell you guys a little bit about Gabriella. I first met her the first time I ever taught a cooking class in public. I did it at this great little local store called Full of Life Market in Burbank. And I actually had only one student show up, and it was Gabriella. And she was so lovely, sitting there the whole time, taking the class and the rest of it. And at the end of it, she had this private cooking class, and she was so grateful and thankful. And she told me a little bit about herself, and I was so relieved when she said to me, I'm an actress, and if you ever need any help with public speaking, I would love to help you, because I was so scared. When I first started, I was like holding my breath and stuttering a little bit. It was so intimidating to me to be teaching. And here, the divine universe sent to me right in front of me this lovely human being who over the years has helped to mentor me and become the teacher that I am today. So I am forever grateful to Gabriella, and she's become one of my good friends. I love her so much. And here is Gabriella.
Hi, everybody. I had to turn around wondering who she's talking about, because that's how I feel about her. I feel like between her and Patrick, they practically saved my life. And so very quickly, first of all, welcome everyone. I am so grateful to be here. This is an honor and opportunity, and I thank you for allowing me to tell you my story. And I'm hoping that as I share my story, I'm also going to tell you a couple of tips and a couple of things that hopefully might help. So I would start by saying that my story starts when I went into the hospital for an ambulatory procedure. So you go in at 8 in the morning, and then you're done by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Unfortunately, something went wrong, and I almost died on the operating table. And they were literally trying to save my life. 5 days later, I, wasn't clear what happened. Long story on that. They ran a gamut of tests, and it turned out that I had several disorders or several things that I needed to work on, but one of them was the beginning of breast cancer. So I was released from the hospital. I went home and I thought, oh my God, I survived dying on this table, and now I have to deal with breast cancer. And so I was not clear what to do. And so I remember going to my doctor, and she said, yeah, what I'm recommending is lumpectomy and radiation. And I just remember thinking, oh God, I can't do this. So I just said to her, you know what, I can't take that path. There's got to be something else. And she had the most prettiest blue eyes, big blue eyes, and they almost popped out of her head. And she said, what? And I said, I can't. I just don't know how or why, but this is not my path. And she said, well, I'll tell you what, I want you to try what you're going to try, assuming it's something natural. But if you don't get better in 3 months, I want you to come back in 3 months, and I'm going to run some more tests. And if you do not get better, then we are going to have to get more aggressive. And so I thought, oh my God, all right, no problem. So I remember walking through a health food store thinking, I'm going to pick up a book, something, I've got to figure this out. And I ran into a pharmacist, a natural pharmacist, and I told him my story. I was feeling very vulnerable. And he goes, you know what, there's a woman here, Jeannie Grosset, who's going to start some classes, and, something about macrobiotics. Why don't you just go in there? And I was like, okay. And so I went in. I was her first student, like she shared. And I just literally, just read everything, did everything that was recommended. Eventually I did become an assistant for her for years, so I learned even more. And I'm really happy to say that was 14 years ago. So I really believe that this process works. So when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so one of the ways, there's a couple of things, but one of the ways that I think I succeeded on this path is that I really thought ahead and planned. So what does that look like? It looks like I was given a diet, and so a medicinal diet. Literally do your grocery list, and ran to the grocery store, bought everything, read through the recipes. How do I cook this? Just literally applied myself to it. It was almost like a mental battle to say to myself, listen, you got to do this. You got to show up for yourself. And what's the worst that'll happen? You're going to probably get better. You're going to heal, all kinds of things. And so I literally just threw myself into it. It's almost like this path, you can't really do ish. You know what I mean? You can't just be like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And given the thoughts that were going through my head, like, God, what if this doesn't work? Or how do I tell my mom, and, what kind of preparations do I make for death? Just all these things that really hadn't crossed my mind before. Anyway, just for me, it started with that commitment, that mental commitment of saying, hey, I have to do this. I'm going to show up for myself. And so again, making that list, going to the grocery store. I took a particular day of the week and I just made X amount of dishes. So that would look like maybe 3 grain dishes, a brown rice, a millet, a quinoa salad. It would look like maybe 3 bean dishes, maybe chickpea, lentils, and maybe black beans. And because I was so sick, if I had, those things available to me, then all I would have to do is supplement them with a boiled salad or a fresh salad. Because literally for quite a few months, I would cook and then literally go back to sleep. Cook, go back to sleep. It was just absolutely exhausting. At some point, another thing that I would suggest is I literally set up a timer for 45 minutes. I got this tip from a book and it said, especially when you're not well, just set up a timer, cook as much as you can. 45 minutes are up, you're done, just get out of there. And so that's kind of what I did as well. But again, it was that thing of preparing. I remember having cravings for snacks. And if I was lazy and tired and maybe would grab a Cheeto or something, that was not gonna feel good. It wasn't gonna be healthy for me. And so inevitably, I realized you've gotta plan ahead. You gotta get healthy snacks. And so that would look like maybe chips and hummus and, or maybe steamed vegetables and hummus. Maybe even, I used to love yogurt. So I would get like, cashew yogurt, maybe with some fresh fruit and that sort of thing. But, and maybe even some mochi was really kind of very comforting for me. I would have, one of my favorite things was a lovely smoothie. I call it my liver tonic. And basically, especially if I had a little sugar craving, I would add like kale or arugula, half a cucumber, half a lemon, half an apple, maybe a handful of parsley. And that would be something that would be very soothing. And at the same time, it would clean my liver. And so that was wonderfully helpful. But the thing I want to talk about is the power of sleep. That would be the next thing that I discovered. I think we forget about the healing power of sleep. And I don't know about you, but I used to run around, and then I kind of get into bed, and then that's it, I'm out. And I discovered that sleep deprivation, as you know, leads to depression, which wasn't going to help me. It leads to hormone imbalances, which I didn't need, digestive issues. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So one of the ways that I kind of safeguard myself against not resting is that I kind of treated it like a night ritual. And so what that would look like is, and this is again, preparing for that, making sure that that's in your calendar, like on your schedule, I'm gonna stop work or do whatever at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm gonna spend this hour before I go to bed doing this. So I would do a bath. It could even be like a salt bath where you add like 3 cups of salt and a couple of drops of lavender, or even like a nice long hot shower. But just really like kind of letting the day go, if that makes sense. Letting all the thoughts that are going through your mind, letting them go. And so, after I bathed, I would get in bed. And I have a quick short story. I have a friend of mine who was a missionary in Africa, and she was a doctor. And she ended up, most of the time when she was on her tour of duty, she ended up sleeping on the floor a lot. And for 5 years. And when she came back to the States, the first thing she did was she bought herself a beautiful bed and really luxurious sheets and that sort of thing, and just had this beautiful bedroom. And so she said to me, that's something that you might want to consider, is really kind of investing in just having a beautiful bedding and that sort of thing. So I did. And I would lay there and rest and allow myself to rest and stop cooking, stop, with the running around, maybe going for my walk and exercising, just stop. So one of the things that started to happen as I would, sit and rest is I discovered the next tip, which would be journaling. I started to journal and I would take inventory of my day. And so I want to say this, and I want to be careful how I say it, but I really do feel that it's true. In my humble opinion, I really think that you can eat as healthy as possible and you can work out as much as possible. But there is a part of it that really has to do also with where you are emotionally. There's an emotional component to healing. And that really came to me, as I said, as I entered into this night ritual. And so as I journaled, I took inventory of my day, and I realized, okay, where do I have to practice forgiveness? What happened today? Where do I practice forgiveness for myself? You know, where am I in my life? What's going on? And it gave me a wonderful opportunity to take inventory, to really, you know, because I think it's Louise Hay who says it best, or used to say it best, she's passed on, which is that there is an emotional component behind every illness. And so I'll use myself, you know, when it comes to breast cancer, the emotional component to that behind the breast cancer is an inability to nurture yourself. And that to me was shocking, but it was very, very true. Growing up in my family, I was the one who basically took care of everyone, and I kind of, you know, came last. And so reading that one little sentence, I mean, it just stopped me. And I decided, the cancer allowed me, you know, kind of recalibrate. I decided I would put myself first. And besides the food and everything else, what did that look like? Did that look like a new job? Did it look like a different relationship? You know, that sort of thing. I remember reading in one of the macrobiotic books, it talked about how cancer is a gift. And I just kept thinking, what? How could this be a gift? And then I read on, and there's some physical reasons for that. But part of it, which touched me the most, was that it buys you time. And I didn't see it like that. Because somebody today didn't wake up, or somebody walks out the door and they get hit by a car. I mean, they didn't have time to prepare. So whether I have 6 days, 6 months, 16 years, I have time to rethink my life and prepare for a few things. And so starting from the understanding that cancer is a gift, that opened up a whole new world for me. And so part of my night ritual became gratitude. I just would lay there and I'd say, you know, I'm grateful that I can cook for myself. I'm grateful that I can pay my rent. I mean, I would just go down the list. When I ran out of stuff, I would say, I'm grateful I have a brain, you know, but by the time I was done, there was just this peace that would come into my heart. And so again, the component of eating well and making those right choices and having those right choices in the home, you know, obviously the sleeping part of it, you heal, right, as you rest. And then really having the courage to face some of those emotional things that maybe we weren't going to face unless we had a diagnosis that was not welcoming, whether it's diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer. So that to me was a big eye opener. And it did take courage, because I really came to a place where I understood how I contributed, and so to my life and to where I was right now. And so that motivated me to continue to eat well, to exercise, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to use a cheat sheet that's right near me. The other thing I would talk about is stress. Again, I can do all of this, but if I don't deal with the stress, it's just not going to work. And I started to walk. And I know it's recommended a lot in the macrobiotic practice. I would wait about 15 minutes and then I would go for a walk. And eventually those 15-minute walks became almost like an hour walk, that sort of thing. And I mean like 3 times a day. After every meal, I just kind of got lost in that. And it was absolutely wonderful. I discovered yoga and you know, breathing techniques and things like that. Hiking. I became a hiker so that I was doing exercises that really were feeding my soul. And it wasn't so much about, oh, I've got to get 30 minutes of cardio in there. It was more like, you know what? I love this. So I discovered nature. And so now when I'm hiking, it's not so much about getting my time in as much as, my God, look at that butterfly. You know, look at that beautiful tree that's blossoming at this time of year. It just became a moment to take a pause in my day and just really kind of rethink my life. And a quick note, I think out of all of that, as I was recalibrating, if you will, and doing a 180 in my life, I realized I hated my job. I didn't like what I was doing. There were relationships I was in that I probably shouldn't have been in. Just really rethinking a lot and having the courage, again, to put myself first and say no. The other thing too is I learned how to listen to my body. And I think that's really, really important. I don't know, I think we go through life, we kind of feed our bodies, work out and go. But when you pause, when you take that time to really take that breath and pause and notice and pay attention and listen to your body, it's talking to you. It's excellently and beautifully made. And so one of the things that I discovered was the organ clock. So I was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning or so, whatever, and then Jeannie introduced me to the organ clock, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is my liver. I think 3 o'clock is liver, I'm not sure. But so I knew, okay, so my liver is saying, hey, I need a little help. And so throughout the day, I would, do a couple of remedies, and eventually I was able to sleep through the night. But again, it's learning to listen to the body. What is it saying? It is not a coincidence that I'm getting up every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. That is not a coincidence. The other thing too is having a good, I would call it a first aid kit, having a really good first aid kit, because when I first got into macrobiotics and I got a sinus infection, I would get them all the time, for whatever reason, I would get them. And my doctor would recommend antibiotics. And, I was just like, oh God, I can't keep doing this, but I was in such desperate state that I had to do it. But I learned that if I have a first aid kit in the house, then that would give me the ability to maybe jump on the illness that I'm feeling before it becomes a full-blown infection. And so a first aid kit for me would be a grapeseed extract, which is like a natural antibiotic, oregano oil, eucalyptus, I love lavender, rosemary oil. There's just a bunch of oils and some natural antibiotics, maybe even a vitamin D, a good vitamin C stress formula, that kind of thing. So immediately when I remember talking to a natural doctor, and she said, that's really the key when people get sick and want to do it naturally. You want to jump on it the moment you feel that little drip in the back of your throat, the moment you feel that cough, you're feeling under the weather, you're feeling cold, whatever that looks like, that's when you just want to throw everything at it. And so I discovered, even though I was kind of fearful, because for me, the sinus infections got really bad. My doctor's like, this is too close to your brain and it's not going to be good. Take these antibiotics. And she was right, but still I wanted to do it in a way that was natural. And so I literally would start with my grapeseed extract, and then I would take a hot pot of water, grandma's medicine, they used to call it. So a hot pot of, steaming water. I had a couple of drops of eucalyptus, throw a towel over, great for facials, and opening up those pores. And then it would just kind of help me with, breathing and calm my throat down. And then I would be able to rest throughout the night. And I found like within 2 or 3 days, I didn't need the antibiotics. So that put me on another journey. It was like, okay, so the body, if you give it the right food, exercise and all that, but if you also know how to, put together these different, like a first aid kit, then you're going to be okay. Obviously, if I break my arm tomorrow, don't put nori on it, take me to the hospital, obviously, but if there are certain things that I can do at home to prevent or make things get worse, and that's what I want to do. And also, again, I'm going to talk about that. So the sinus infection, I kept getting many sinus infections. And so I looked it up. And sinus infections has to do with crying internally, that there's a deep sadness and you're crying internally. And again, as I'm going through this journey, I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, I am depressed about A, B, C, D. And so I would sit there with my journal as I took my grapeseed extract and say, okay, why am I crying? What is going on? Again, that emotional component that is connected to what's happening to you physically. I don't think you can separate it, in my opinion. So the other thing is having a good medical team. I mean, the reality is you probably are going to need a dentist, you're going to need a doctor, you're going to need somebody. And so I prepared by having a good team, there for me, so that if I needed them, they're there. And so for me, I started with a doctor who's a Western doctor, but had understood my Eastern philosophy and honored it and respected it. And so I would go to her. She would say, hey, this is what's going on with your body. I'd say, thanks so much. I'm going to go take care of it. And I would. She'd run blood tests and all, you need that physical, that yearly physical, of course, but somebody who really understood what I wanted to do physically. I found a really great dentist, a holistic dentist, actually out there in San Diego. And I understood, I had no idea that there are meridians, and I'm sure Patrick and Jeannie can do a better job of explaining this than me, but there are meridians that run through your mouth. And so inevitably, your molars, your teeth are connected to your organs somehow. Ironically enough, I was having a lot of problems with one back here, and it turns out that one is connected to breast cancer, or breast issues, I should say. And I was like, oh my goodness, again, listening, the art of listening to your body. And so I chose to have somebody, I drive, I'm in LA, and I drive all the way to San Diego to see her, but she understands me, she gets me. And again, she's not just treating me, just my teeth. She's treating my whole body. It's all connected, all of it. And so hold on 2 seconds. Does anybody have any questions before I go on?
We have a question that just came up, which is, can you send your dentist in San Diego's info, please?
Sure, happy to do that. Very, very happy to do that.
So if Charles is nearby and has a cell phone and you want to text me the information for the dentist, or he can just text it to my phone, I can put it in the chat. Or what's the name? I can type it in here too.
Oh, a Brighton Dental. They're on Friar. They're on Friar Road. Awesome.
What is it in San Diego? San Diego?
It's in San Diego. Yeah. Okay. I forget what city in San Diego.
Okay, I'm putting that in the chat, you guys.
Okay.
That was your only question so far.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's see. I guess the rest of it is some of the good things that, besides what I just shared that came out of it, is things that I didn't expect. I didn't expect to lose weight. I was kind of a little heavier, a little chunkier before, and I didn't expect to have clear skin. And so for me, some of that looks like, I don't, maybe it was all the dairy I was eating and the congestion in my body and the meat and everything. I would spend, hundreds of dollars trying to get my skin clear, facial after facial and very expensive products, and nothing was working. And I started this path of, plant-based macrobiotic eating. And one day I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, look at my skin. And look, I can fit into these pants again. So it was just kind of those things that I looked at. And it put me on this path to natural green beauty products. And I can talk about that forever. But for me, one of the things that was kind of interesting, this is probably girl talk, but was that I read somewhere that women eat about 3 pounds of lipstick a year. 3 pounds of lipstick. I'm like, oh, and I don't use a lot of makeup, but I'm assuming it's maybe women that we all use a good lipstick, right? We may not put on a lot of makeup, but we probably put on a lipstick. And so it talked about how you are eating all those chemicals. And so that put me on a path to think about, okay, what does green makeup look like? Is it pretty? Is it long lasting? Is it going to run down my face? That sort of thing, because there's a bunch of junk. I read something where the mascara has tar and, all sorts of junk and that sort of thing. So I basically made a commitment that I was going to throw away my lovely MAC and all this other stuff that wasn't helping. And so I discovered like Jane Iredale and Tammy Fender. I love Tammy Fender. By the way, exfoliating is one of the things, like for your night ritual, that you might want to do. It is the best exfoliator. And then it becomes a mask. And man, your skin is like radiant because, it just takes off all the dull skin and everything. It becomes radiant and beautiful. And so your product is able to go in a little bit deeper. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But Tammy Fender's products are so natural, you actually have to use them within the first 3 months because they'll go bad. But it's just, again, discovering this world of green shampoo, styling lotions, nail polish. Again, it's all connected, guys. There's no way. How am I going to eat like this, live like this, and then put plastic in my hair or a bunch of other kind of chemicals, if you will. And so for me, I just found like, okay, this is another part of this journey, but I've discovered like so many awesome products. And so it makes my night ritual, if you will, just decadent and just lovely and enjoyable. So before I go on, I'm seeing things pop up. Anyone have any questions?
Someone commented on how nice your skin looks right before you even started talking about it. So perfect timing on that one.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
That's
then
awesome.
Gretchen was asking, she'd love to know more about the organ clock and teeth connection. I posted the organ clock in the chat. So there's a link there that'll take you to Google Images to take a look at an organ clock with the different organ references in it and to the time. Basically, the way it works in nature is that at different times of the day, the organs get a little more attention from the energies of nature at other times of the day. So that's what that clock is about. And the teeth connection, there's also a teeth chart that I will put into the chat there as well. Gabriella, you mentioned the exfoliator mask that you really like, that line. I know that I've seen you use it before and it smells really good. You have some kind of toner or something, or spray, a mist that you used before too that smells amazing. What is that one too? You have like the best natural products.
Oh, I'm a junkie. I'm a green line. I would say there's a really affordable one for like $7 from Whole Foods, and I think it's made out of roses, because that's very hydrating for the skin. And so I use it even when like throughout the day, I just kind of like spritz a little bit. So that's a good one. I know the Tammy Fender has a good one. I don't remember right now. Juice Beauty is a really affordable, great product. I would say their stuff is really, clean, very organic. They have a lovely sunscreen, because I know I love getting my 15 minutes of my vitamin D and all that, but if you want to do a little bit more, a little protection now and then I would say Juice Beauty has a really great tinted sunscreen that's really lovely that I like a lot. Is there another question?
I was just sharing the other chart, and then let's see here. Can you please spell the name of the cosmetic line? But I think somebody did it. Is it Tammy Fender that you said, or did you?
Tammy Fender, T-A-M-Y Fender, yeah.
So thank you, Zolma, for that.
Oh, one more time, I'm sorry?
That was Zolma who said Tammy Fender. So
yes.
Are you getting Tammy Fender in stores, or is it online only?
No, it's online. She's out in Florida, so it would be online, yeah. There's also, as far as makeup itself, because her stuff is skincare, I would recommend Jane Iredale. She's awesome. She was doing green before green was popular. And I'll tell you a quick story. And then Jeannie, you help me keep track of time. When you need me to get off, I'll get off. But I'll tell you a quick story. About 15 years ago, somebody wrote an article and they talked about how most of the women that were winning at that time, the Miss Universe contest, were women from South America, Colombia, Venezuela. And so somebody went down there and wanted to figure out, hey, what are you guys doing? And they found that they were doing oil cleansing. Way before, oil cleansing is hot now, but 15, maybe even longer years ago, I discovered it. And I was like, oh my goodness, that makes sense, because our water is so hard and it's so drying, and by the way, quick tip, Whole Foods, or you can get it really on Amazon, anywhere. You want also a really good shower filter, maybe for like $5, so that it can kind of clean up the hard water and the chemicals and all that. Because remember, your skin is your biggest organ, so you don't want to like be taking on that. Especially here, I'm from New York, so here the water is so hard and it leaves me like dry. And I feel like there is, whatever's in there is just kind of not helping. It leaves it kind of dry. But my point is, a good water filter is always very good. But anyway, they discovered oil cleanse. So that's one of the things that I do. And that's, again, part of what I do at night. It's very soothing, I just kind of, and you can even you don't have to get fancy, expensive oils. You can get a good almond oil, a good vitamin E oil. Actually, vitamin E would be too heavy. I would say probably like vitamin E and almond oil combined. Olive oil is a little heavy in my opinion. But jojoba or jojoba, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's a really good oil. And basically you work it in there. And I think that's an Ayurvedic practice, isn't that, Jeannie? When they just oil all over the body, I think.
There's
So
actual coning that they'll put on the head too, and put the oil in through the scalp.
wow.
So there's a cone
Awesome.
that goes on the head and the oil goes
Yeah.
on top. Yep.
Yeah. So I do that, and I kind of work it in there a good 5-10 minutes. And then I just take a nice hot, either washcloth or hot cotton. Sometimes the washcloth is a little rough for my skin. And I just kind of wipe it down, and you'll be amazed at the grease. And, you know, not the grease, the dirt that comes out. And it doesn't leave your face greasy. And if you feel like it is, the trick and the tip is that you probably want to do a good exfoliator twice a week so that you make sure nothing's clogged. You don't have any clogged skin or anything like that. And while we're on the subject, I would say a good body scrub, like every day, either the morning and night if you don't have time, then at least once a day, because that will polish up your skin beautifully. And I'm sure, Jeannie, you could probably tell them the benefits of the body scrub. That to me is, and then I use a little bit of oil with that as well, you know, after I'm done to keep it soft. So Jeannie, do you mind sharing the benefits of body scrub?
Yeah, the body scrub can be beneficial in a number of different ways, not only in keeping the skin, like, you know, getting rid of all the dead skin cells and helping keeping the skin fresh, but also can help with actual blood sugar regulation. So if someone has trouble blood sugar regulation, body scrubbing a couple times a day from, you know, top to tail can be very beneficial for that. You don't even necessarily need to do it in a shower. You can do it just with a damp washcloth or brush. You can also do dry brushing, but it's just about stimulating the surface of the skin to help with overall circulation. And like I said, it can also help with the blood sugar regulation. So there's more benefits to it, as well as, you know, keeping the skin really nice and fresh and supple, and, you know, getting rid of all those dead skin cells. David, actually, Briscoe, in the previous class was explaining how many pounds of actual dead skin cells we lose a year.
Wow.
And I forget what number he said, but it was like, ew, really?
Wow.
We slough off that much dead skin cells.
Wow.
But it happens with a lot of people that if they have really poor diets, a lot of flour products, refined sugars, and animal products, they'll have a problem with dry skin and get buildups of dry skin in different areas. Could cause, you know, psoriasis, can cause, you know, those really bad calluses that we get and stuff too. So when a person does less of those, you'll see improvements in the skin over time as well. I know when I first started in macrobiotics, I had horrible skin all my life. I was using a lot of money on products to keep my skin clear, including, I think I did Proactive for about 10 years. So when I first became macro, and came off all of the other stuff, I had a horrible breakout for a few months. And I really think it was all that stuff that I wasn't allowing to come out of my skin over time. I finally just, you know, was one last giant explosion. And as my diet was clean and the body, you know, got rid of all of this stagnation and garbage in the skin layers, I haven't had any problems with acne ever since. And
Wow.
I had acne issues from the time I started puberty till I was 35 years old and changed my diet. And I wish someone had just told me when I was younger that if I had stopped eating the dairy and the flour products and all the stuff that was, you know, too much refined sugar and diet sodas and all that junk that was exasperating my skin in the first place, if I'd just known that when I was younger, man, that would have saved me a lot of suffering, you know, with all those breakouts all over.
Yeah, I remember being an adult and having all that acne, you know, up until I became macro. It was embarrassing. I would try to cover it with a lot of makeup and, you know, and so it was, and, you know, it's really interesting because I think Louise Hay talks about that too, that it has to do with anger. A lot of it has to do with like maybe even self-hatred or anger or something like that. But talking about that, I wanted to mention 2 books that I thought if anyone wants to, you know, do a little research or maybe sit there and journal as they go through their, you know, journey with, I don't know, macrobiotics or eating this way or whatever. I thought maybe this might help. And so maybe you guys know it, The Dance of Anger, and it is by Harriet Lerner, and very, very good. think there's a lot of anger going around today. And then Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And she like breaks it all down. I'm sure you guys know all about her, but I would read this, I would meditate on it, I would look at it, I would apply it. I didn't just, read it and it's kind of sweet and, oh, what a nice thought that is. No, I would apply it. How does that apply to me? What does this mean? And what's going on with my life? So anyway, those are the two that I wanted to kind of mention. And there's, I'm sure, quite a few wonderful, self-help, emotional healing books out there, but I highly recommend that.
Thank you for sharing those with us. Elaine chimed in and said that she thinks David said 8 pounds of dead skin cells. I thought it was 8 or 9. Wow. Yeah, it's just gross when you start thinking about how many dead skin cells that is in a year. So then we have Gretchen who said, I believe you're not supposed to do body scrub in the shower. Refer to Denny Wexman's book. Use a container of the hottest water you can stand and keep putting the washcloth back in the container. Like attracts like. So I personally have heard all different kinds of versions of body scrubbing as well. And in all honesty, what I have found is different people are at different phases of body scrubbing and what they need too. So sometimes when people have a lot to lose in the shower when they're first getting started, it can be more efficient. But over time, as your diet improves, people might not even need to shower as often, and because you're just not creating the same body odors and stuff as before with a standard American diet and that kind of thing. So it can become a personal thing. We don't want to stand in a long hot shower every day and minerally deplete ourselves. There's a lot of people who say that if you do a really long hot shower every day, you can kind of, drain yourself of some of those good minerals and oils in the skin. But I think it's like anything else, moderation is key, and you need to find really what works with your personal balance. We do have another question here. Amy would like to know, what do you use for your hair?
Oh, that's funny because I wanted to talk about that and I forgot. So thank you for Amy. Is that
yep,
who?
Amy,
okay?
yes.
I love rosemary oil. Apparently, it's very stimulating if you're losing your hair and that sort of thing. It smells incredible, and so sometimes I'll put a little bit, like maybe 5 to 10 drops, depending how thick your hair is, and I just kind of put that in there. I also might do like a coconut oil. I might warm it up in my hand and then just kind of work it in there just before I wash it out. There are so many really, really good products out there. I don't know if you guys, and I can't think right now of what I use because I use so many different things, but I don't know if you guys know Green Line Beauty. But Green Line Beauty, they have an actual store here in LA, but there's an online, they have an online presence, so you can actually contact them as well. But they have some of the best, from mid-range to high-range beauty products that sorry I told you, it's a very dangerous place. You might just lose your paycheck there if you're into green beauty, but she does it right. And she researches it. I think Jeannie remembers Stacy, and yes. I highly recommend her. And from shampoo to nail color to green perfume. So it don't all have to be walking around wearing lavender oil, to try to stay green. So yeah, I would recommend Green Line Beauty. They're pretty awesome.
So I'm going to put Green Line Beauty. I just put the name in the chat. I'm going to share in there too their actual website.
And Stacy's very helpful. You ask her anything, she'll take care of you. Yeah.
The woman who owns the shop really knows her way around green beauty products, and she's really sweet and very, very nice. You should just tell her that Gabriella sent you if you have any questions or something like that. She'll get a total kick out of it. She's known Gabriella and me for, it's been a long time now. When did she start that shop? About a decade ago?
Yeah. As long as I've known you, 14 years or so. Yeah.
Before anybody else was doing green beauty products, she was right on the front end of it. So she has a lot of experience, and she's just a great person. But be careful, like Gabriella said, you go in and you can spend a lot. But I admit, all of the products that I've gotten from her, over the years, um, I mainly work from home. I don't wear makeup very often, but when I do need it for, presenting things and stuff like that, I have stuff from her that I got years and years and years ago that's still fresh and works great. It's not, it doesn't get weird, and you know how some types of the more, conventional products, after a few years, they smell kind of like bad Play-Doh. Her stuff
Oh,
doesn't seem to do that. So, it's a good investment that'll last you a long time too. So.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So does anyone else have any more questions or anything? There was Lisa, and you know Lisa from Full of Life. You met her.
Oh, yes.
Stuff over the
Hey,
years.
Lisa.
Lisa would like to know if you could please repeat what you do with the rosemary and coconut oil again for your hair.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So I will put about maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 drops, depending on how thick your hair is. And so I kind of work it in the scalp really well, and then I work it throughout the hair. You don't want to overdo it. And then I will add a little coconut oil, if you will, and I just kind of warm it up in my hands, and I work it in there. If it's just rosemary, I might keep it on overnight. But if it's, the coconut oil, then I'm going to do that maybe half an hour before I bathe and wash my hair. But it's very silky. It's got a nice shine to it, but it doesn't weigh you down or anything like that. And I happen to like, and you can just use your regular shampoo and conditioner and that sort of thing. But it's really good. And actually, there's a really great product. I think it's Jinsoon. God, is it Ginsoon? I meant to tell you, she's one of the first that came out with a vegan nail polish, and her colors are beautiful. I mean, they're like, oh my God, I want every color on her list. And she's in New York, but I'm sure she has an online presence, and so you can get it there. But sometimes vegan nail polishes aren't the greatest, and I don't know, but she does it right. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. So. And then I want to encourage you to, if you don't do anything, at least do one thing, which is find a great lipstick or a lip gloss that doesn't have chemicals, that's all natural. Because if it's true that women eat 3 pounds of lipstick, I mean, I would not want to eat the chemicals in some of the, whether it's Max Factor or MAC or something, I wouldn't want to eat that. And it's just not good for you anyway. So at least hopefully you'll do that. Is there something else?
I'm just sharing right now the nail polish. It's the all vegan nail polish too. And we have a question from Zulma. How are you feeling now? Healthy and happy?
Yes. I feel great. And again, this has been a very, very long journey. 14 years is a long time, but yes, I feel great. I do. I feel very strong. I feel like this is like the best time of my life. Again, it comes from a heart of gratitude. I'm grateful to be here. 14 years wasn't promised to me when I left that hospital. I think they probably thought they'd never see me again. But I'm grateful that God had other plans, and that I, showed up for myself. That would be the other thing, that if I could leave you with something, it would be that you're showing up for. You're worth putting yourself as number one. And I know it's work, but you're worth it. I mean it. So prepare, plan, get that team, ready. That first aid medical kit in your house, dust off that journal, write, have the courage to write about what you're feeling, what you're doing. Give yourself the gift of an apple, the gift of a hike. Those are all very loving gifts to ourselves. One of the things I've gotten into, thanks to Jeannie and Mariana and Patrick, is, really high-end vegan food. I mean, I feel like now I've discovered, like, now that I'm, healthier and stronger, I'm discovering, my goodness, things that you can do with tempeh and cashew butter and nachos with, none of that dairy stuff that's going to make me sick, but just really enjoying eating. Before it was eating for health. And so I was on a very strict macrobiotic diet. So it was brown rice and beans and greens. And it was like, this is going to make me healthier. Don't think about it. There were a lot of moments like that. I'm going to be honest. But today, I eat those things, obviously I love them, I enjoy them, but I do enjoy a lot more decadent vegan macrobiotic, not even vegan, plant-based macrobiotic foods. And so eating is fun. Oh, and I did want to say that as far as preparing, when I first started this journey, I felt like I couldn't really go out to dinner with my friends. And even though I had a wonderful community, I had a lot of friends who didn't understand what I was going through, but wanted to support me. And so planning ahead meant that I, looked up a restaurant that had both plant-based food and maybe a burger or something for them. And so that way we could meet somewhere. I could have my quinoa salad, they can have their steak, and we can do what really we came here to do, which was to break bread together and just have a moment of, sharing with each other about life and everything. So, because I did feel very isolated at first, it was like, oh God, no one, I had a wonderful community, and you need that. That's another thing too. You need a community that supports you. But with my friends, even with my mom and my family, it was like, oh, you guys don't get this. I can't have macaroni and cheese. But so I felt isolated. But when I realized, okay, I can plan ahead. I can even look at the menu and I can ask all those annoying questions my husband thinks are annoying, like what's in the rice? What's in your vegetable soup? Is it chicken stock? And he's like, honey, please just order. So I drive him nuts. But now I can just call ahead and then sit there and be kind of cool and say, hey, I'll have the blah, 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 and be kind of cool and not annoy him. But anyway, my point is that you can plan ahead and still have a wonderful, wonderful good time. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Oh, I love you. I love how. Thank you so much, Gabriella, for sharing with us. We have a couple more things. One is a comment from Gretchen who said 14 years. So if what I've heard is correct, that means if you get a whole new body every 7 years, you've had 2 new bodies so far.
I guess I have.
There you go. And then Amy said, how do you find your community that supports you? Like, how did you find the community to start with to help, get that support?
Well, for me, I had gone to the health food store, and then I had connected with Jeannie and Patrick. And then from there, I met some of their friends. And so, to be honest with you, that's how it was for me, just making that connection with her. And so, I don't know if that would be, that's a really great question. I don't know if that would be maybe if there's an online group or something, like an online support group, that sort of thing. I don't know, Jeannie, do you have any ideas about that?
Well, a lot has changed since we met 14 years ago. Now, for community outreach and stuff like that, if you're looking for like-minded individuals on your healing path, there's lots of different groups you can find online initially. Before COVID, of course, it was go to one of your local health food stores, go around online, look and see what classes are offered locally. But now that's kind of changed, and most of us have moved over to remote teaching. So actually it's become easier for people to have access to the cooking classes now because it's remote. Just like, right now in this session we're having right now, we have people from all over the world in this class, and we can bring it to people there. So we're starting to see more and more communities building up online where the access is a little bit easier. 2020 so far has been a big game changer as far as like how, we do many things in our lives, and also, building the community has changed a bit too. It's becoming more of these Zoom meeting interactions, bringing us together, which, that in person is always so much nicer, but there's a lot of convenience that also comes to this online as well. We can reach out further and into more households. So trying to look at the blessings of the situation. And, I just encourage people, look in your local communities and see what's available out there and around you. And like Gabriella did, she sought me out. She was the first person who showed up to one of my cooking classes. So that's all both of us really did to get started. We just showed up, and the rest kind of happened from there.
Yeah, and one thing too that I forgot to mention that you kind of reminded me about, Jeannie, is, there's that proverb, study to show yourself approved. And I think just really reading as much as possible about this, this whole journey, macrobiotics, plant-based, just really reading and again, taking those classes. And I think that's a really great way, you're right, Jeannie, of meeting other folks. But again, it was my desire to grow in this, to really understand what was happening to me physically, emotionally, mentally, not only to grow, but to also to thrive. And I would say today, thank God I thrive, So studying, put that time in, do it, even if it's just 2 chapters or a chapter a night, or even a paragraph at night, if that's all you can do. But something where you're kind of growing forward and you're not kind of going back, where you can really understand what is happening, so.
Well, I want to thank you, Gabriella. We have a few more things in the chat here.
Okay.
That I just wanted to read to you. One is, thank you, Gabriella, for sharing your story of healing and your journey into caring for yourself and enjoying life in different ways.
Oh, thank you.
That's from Elaine. Thank you, Elaine. Gretchen said there are a lot of macrobiotic face groups and many great videos on YouTube for people who are just getting started out. We also, Lisa said, important message about showing up for yourself. It really hit home with me. Thank you. You definitely look like you're walking the walk and talking the talk. We also have Gretchen who said there's a macrobiotic functional medical doctor in Nashville named Summer White, who is also very good. Summer might be in some of the classes. I think she's part of this event too. Also, Florence said, really inspiring and open. Thank you, Gabriella. And Zoma, lovely session. Thank you. And I just wanted to share with you all today, one of the reasons Gabriella is doing this class with us today is because when I was really thinking about who I wanted to put onto the schedule to be a living example of what empowerment is all about, Gabriella was the first person who popped up into my head, because I watched her take the knowledge and just run with it. She got so empowered with what she did, and she is just this glowing, beautiful human being, and I'm so grateful to know her. So thank you very much for everyone for attending. If there's any last question, or if you want to unmute yourself real quick, you can do a *6 and say hi to Gabriella, or I got everybody covered here in the chat. You got some more thank yous. Thank you very much, my dear.
Awesome. Very welcome.
Thank you, Charles. I know you're in the room there somewhere. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.